Hello and welcome to another edition of National Focus. I'm Jarna Hector. Coming up, government to make an additional investment in LIAT in the new financial year, small business development centers to be established on the island, and disaster management within the agriculture sector is currently under review. Stay with us for details of these stories and others after the break.
Scary! Everything just shaking and making big creaky noises.
Earthquakes, big and small, take place in the Caribbean at least 10 times a year.
The dishes rattling and falling and breaking, then Vonnie started to scream.
All I could think to do was shout, "Get outside, get out!"
Earthquakes, hazards, take control, reduce your loss. If an earthquake hits, what can you do? Get down, get under an item of furniture like a table. Hold on and stay there until the quake passes. Find out lots more about earthquakes and other hazards at your local disaster office. A message from your National Disaster Office and SEDERA.
The facts as they are, brought to you every day. Only on GIS Channel 7.
Thanks for staying with us. The government of the People's Republic of China has provided grant funds of $18 million to the government of Dominica to implement several community projects across the island. The projects are expected to create jobs at community level and create greater economic activity. One of the projects is the rehabilitation of the Lale Road in Granby.
And that project includes the replacing of the water lines in Lale, which is costing about $500,000, and the reconstruction of the road, complete sidewalks, new drains, new surface, which will be about $1 million, so about $1.5 million. You also have the bridge crossing in Pishley to the health center and to the Catholic Church and to the community center. There's no crossing where a vehicle could drive to the health center or to drive to the church or to drive to the community center. A couple of years ago, we acquired the land, and the estimates are there now, so we now have the money to effect that.
The Prime Minister said the construction of a playing field for Roseau is also among the many projects which will be financed through the grant.
That will be continued. As you know, we started, there were some challenges with the presence of a car house or two from the grammar school. Those two houses have been since relocated, and once the budget is passed, we'll recommence the activities there and do a proper playing field for the residents of Roseau Central, and properly lit and grassed and washroom facilities, so that it is a very decent playing facility.
Meantime, the government of the People's Republic of China has made available over $1.7 million towards the finalizing of the designs for the new hospital.
A conceptual design was presented to us, the government, which we basically agreed with certain amendments. I think one concern we had with the conceptual design was there was one building, I believe, with either 2 or 3 stories, and we wanted an extra story to allow for private spaces for medical doctors who would be on call, who could have a place where they could rest and have a bed and entertainment and all these things, so that they do not have to be too far away from the hospital in time of a critical need. So I'm sure that we will get this amendment to the conceptual design. So once the team comes in, then we will finalize that. But certainly, the hospital will be virtually a new hospital, new structures, and the conceptual drawing I have seen. I believe it is something that the Dominican people will be very, very pleased to add to the improvement of the health facilities and, of course, the delivery of health services in Dominica.
The Prime Minister told GIS News on Friday that a team of Chinese officials are expected in Dominica shortly to present designs for the new hospital. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit has confirmed that government will make another financial contribution to LIAT Airlines. Government has already invested $3 million in the regional airline, an investment the Dominica leader explained, which is in the best interest of nationals. He told reporters last week that there continues to be efforts by regional governments to support LIAT.
One of the things that we discuss in LIAT at present, and we have not finalized it yet, but I have agreed to it in principle, of course subject to the approval of the Parliament, is that LIAT is seeking to contract a loan from the CDB. But LIAT cannot itself enter into a loan agreement with the CDB. So it will require shareholder governments to guarantee portions of the LIAT investment. And the portion that we will have to guarantee as a government is about $2.5 million for LIAT. But LIAT would service the loan, but we're simply guaranteeing the loan.
The government of Venezuela has also expressed interest in investing in the regional airline company. A draft agreement has already been provided to shareholders for their consideration.
I believe it is an absolutely good move. If we were to get Venezuela to invest in LIAT and to provide LIAT with the much needed financial and technical support required. But it could also mean additional business to LIAT, because if you can get Conviasa to do the flights from Brazil and from Venezuela and from other Latin and South American countries and transport them to a hub in the Caribbean and then take them to their respective destinations within the Caribbean, that it means additional business for LIAT. So we intend to continue discussions with the government of Venezuela in respect to the draft agreement MOU which they sent for consideration. There's some aspects of it which I believe are clear and straightforward, but there are other aspects of it which we need further discussions among ourselves as the existing shareholders first, and then to raise them with the government of Venezuela.
The second phase of a project to address disaster risk within Dominica's agriculture sector is underway thanks to the Food and Agriculture Organization. At a press conference held last week at the Division of Agriculture, Technical Officer in the Department of Agriculture, Winston McGlaw, stated that this project, which was approved earlier this year, is the second and final phase of the Assistance to Improve Disaster Risk Management project. The project was first launched in 2010. Winston gave an overview of the initial objectives of the project, outlining some of the areas it plans to tackle.
The phase one of that project ran up till 2011, and it had several components. One was for the development of an agricultural plan for the disaster risk mitigation in the agricultural sector. A second looked at disaster risk mitigation for crops, for livestock, for fisheries, and for forestry. And another component also addressed disaster risk mitigation at community level.
According to the technical officer, following its endorsement, some of the sub-programs of this project remained at a standstill. However, the technical officer says Phase 2 seeks to continue some of these activities which had been planned in 2010. These include developments in the Fisheries Division, establishing shelters for livestock, and working with the Forestry Division and individual communities.
As you may be aware, one of the activities in fisheries looked at disaster risk mitigation measures for various fishery methods, including pot fishing and line fishing. In terms of livestock, we looked at the construction of buildings and retrofitting them so that they were better able to withstand conditions of hurricanes and so on and disasters. In forestry, we also did some work. We had workshops on sensitization of farmers into the benefits of agroforestry systems and improved management of forests to improve the resilience during disasters. And at the community level, we worked with two communities, Dodan and Good Hope Sansovere, in identifying some of the disasters that they faced at community level. And also we had a national expert who was involved in the GIS mapping of the vulnerable areas in those communities.
As the issue of mitigation for crops was unable to be addressed during the previous stage, Winston informed that this matter will be tackled in the upcoming phase, along with the finalization of a comprehensive plan for the agriculture sector. Winston told the press that the amount estimated for this phase of the project is approximately $157,000, which he admits is not necessarily a lot of money. However, he says that this sum is sufficient for the task of piloting activities to trigger activity and awareness among islanders.
And I'm saying this is not a lot of money because there are certainly many activities that have been pointed out by the communities, for example, which would require far more resources than the project is providing us with. But we believe that through this work that we're doing now, it allows us to create the awareness and also to start the process so that if additional funds are identified, then we can continue implementation of some of those practices in different communities and at different agricultural regions.
According to Winston, the project will be steered by a committee with as much diversity as its previous phase, collaborating with representatives of the Office of Disaster Management, the Office of Community Development, the Forestry and Fisheries Divisions, and the Livestock Unit. Anna Ricoy, Climate Change Adaptation Officer, also present at the conference, represented the Food and Agriculture Organization, or the FAO, pledging the organization's full support of this venture. Winston says Phase 2 will be the final stage of this project and will be completed in December this year. And the Prime Minister, Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit, says the calling of elections is not a priority of his administration at this time. The Dominica leader told reporters he is now focused on plans for the budget presentation on July 24th and other matters relating to the development of the island's economy.
This budget and other things I have to address, elections are not on my mind at this time. So issue of snap election is not on my mind at all. Elections will be when elections will be, and when the Prime Minister pursuant to the provisions of the Constitution advises the President. At this time, I am concerned about addressing the issues of unemployment among people and continue to improve the infrastructure of this country, addressing the issues of healthcare and the delivery of health services. There are many more important things. Don't say that elections are not important, but there are many more important things at this time that I would concentrate on. What I would say on elections is that whenever elections are called, the Labour Party will be ready to return to office.
The Ministry of Employment, Trade and Industry is implementing a training program for the establishment of small business development centers in Dominica. This is in collaboration with the Organization of American States, Caribbean Export, the Institute for Economic Development at the University of Texas, and the U.S. government. The training aims to use the Small Business Development Center model as a means of improving the competitiveness and the success of Dominica's micro, small, and medium enterprise sectors in regional and international markets. Alexander Stevenson is the Executive Director of the Employment and Small Business Support Agency. In his address at the opening ceremony on Wednesday, he indicated that his agency's fundamental role is to broaden and improve the assistance services of the small business sector. According to Stevenson, this training aims to develop the capacity and skill sets of Dominica's entrepreneurs.
This training brings us here this morning to develop the capacity and skill sets for Dominica and the confidence for adapting and implementing the small business development model that has been pioneered by the Institute for Economic Development within the University of Texas in San Antonio for over 30 years in the Americas.
Stevenson further commented that the ministry wants for Dominican small businesses to take leading roles in the island's development. He encouraged small business owners to make use of the small business development centers to promote and develop their respective businesses.
If you have the product, you need the packaging, you might probably need some raw material, you might need a particular machinery design or modified. It's very easy for you to tap into that because there's a huge, rich database as well as a web platform that you could place orders, you could raise queries and get the assistance. It's totally different from what it is that we are trying to do. And instead of reinventing the wheel at the Employment and Small Business Agency, we felt that it is absolutely necessary to adapt to something that has been proven to be successful and very flexible.
Marissa Roberts, OECS representative, explained that the model looks to teach local business owners how to strengthen the institutions already operating in Dominica to better serve local MSME sectors. According to a release from organizers, the second module of the training seeks to define the role of the SBDC in the economic development of the region, while Module 3 will review the structure and role of the SBDC project team. Cliff Padris, a representative of the University of Texas at San Antonio, emphasized that although the 4-month training will provide participants with the necessary tools, it is ultimately their own responsibility to achieve success.
This model is not prescriptive, and so there's no massive book that we give you that says how to run an SBDC or what services to provide. That responsibility is on you. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be sharing how we operate our centers, and again, it's very flexible and focused on results. And what you're going to be doing during the whole 4 modules is to think, okay, how would we adopt this for our country, for our local market context, where we're going to be operating our centers? And so there's a little bit more responsibility on you.
The SBDC model is the main source of technical and managerial assistance for small businesses in the United States. And finally, this news time, social programs introduced by the current administration will continue in the next financial year. This was confirmed last week by Prime Minister Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit. The Dominica leader believes government has a moral responsibility to care for the less fortunate of society.
These programs shall be maintained because we believe that the government and the country has a moral and ethical responsibility to look after the less fortunate of our country. And we will not only maintain them, but we'll be even providing greater support to the agencies which provide care to our children and to our senior citizens. So for example, chances where we spend about $70,000 every month, that'll be maintained and they'll be getting even more critical support. The infirmary, where we provided about $85,000 a month for the care of the elderly there. I visited there on Wednesday, and there are a number of things additional to that we have to do, and I'm committed to doing, and I'll find the resources to do it, because these people at the infirmary are doing a fantastic job in caring for the elderly. And chances they're doing an extraordinary job for caring for the elderly. And I visited the Grotto home during the storm to ensure that they were okay. And I must commend the management and the board of the Grotto home for what they're doing for the most vulnerable group in our society. And we provide support from the government, but that will certainly be increased. And we shall also provide additional financial help so they can complete certain sections of the building, so they can relocate the residents of the Grotto home to the new location in Bellevue Road.
And that's the English segment of the news. We now join McPherson St. Luce for the Creole highlights.
Allô tout le monde, bienvenue à ces nouvelles en créole. Non, moi, c'est McPherson St. Luce. Premièrement, Premier ministre Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit, qui a fait parole que le gouvernement pays là, qui a continué à manager les finances pays là, a de manière soutenable, qui prend en considération la globalisation qui a affecté la terre à présent. Selon Honorable Skerrit, pendant que la situation Dominique c'est pas qui plus meilleure, le gouvernement Dominique a agi bien bon, tient employement en secteur public pays là. Et le gouvernement Dominique qui continue de travailler combattre la globalisation, qui a concerné l'économie à pays là. Le Premier ministre a dit Dominique Tessa Ouest est bien vivant, selon assistance gouvernementale à pays qui a supporté. Honorable Skerrit fait parole que le gouvernement a chimé tapé 45 millions de dollars, donation et dit que Dominique qui tapé tout de suite. En autre nouvelle, l'office qui a responsabilité pour les affaires des as Dominique ODM, qui a avisé le public là pour bien préparer qu'on nous en saison cyclone à présent. Parole celle-là sortie du ministère des As, Honorable Charles Savren.
Si il y qui nous même pas Socodome, avec il partit en place où là nous allons pont Soukou qui est une ça qui Hurricane Shelters avec nous pour faire un arrangement bien bonnet pas respirer quand zécante tomber tout partout pour nous aller mettre nous en shelter, comme ça nous-mêmes ça protéger nous avec à nous-mêmes c'est pour nous savent qui cléter ça aller quand on est quelque chose qui soit blabalen sur une lampe sur torchlight bagaille comme ça pour savoir cléter qui glow ça aller comme ça ou même mettez glow à ses côtés connaître ça si il y a un mauvais hurricane tout bonnement magasin ça crasé comme ça ou te que voulez mettre biscuit avec bagaille comme ça qui ou ça manger pendant temps magasin pas qu'à ouvert avec bagaille comme ça. Si on est malade ou pas bien, c'est pour faire certains qui ont des médicaments à caillou ou pas dire ou caler à drugstore après hurricane là passer parce drugstore là même peut craser, il peut fermer comme ça on est pour ni toutes ces bagages ça là à caillou avec généralement on est pour faire certains qui ou même coûter toute à vie qui Disaster Preparedness Office et bien Met Office kabao pour ça qui a fait ça qui a arrivé avec ça ou même supposé faire.
Gouvernement Dominica continue à investir l'argent en secteur agricole. Si le premier ministre Honorable Roosevelt Skerritt, gouvernement qui mettait $4 millions pour poursuivre un bateau qui est là pour transporter produits agricoles dans l'autre pays. Si le premier ministre Skerritt, les bateaux sont là qui poursuivent, ça même qui avance plus commodité agricole qui était pays là. Et des gouvernements qui aussi assistent les gens qui ont bateaux augmenté yo, à de manière avancer trade bagay compromettre frigidaire à bord ces bateaux là. Honorable Skerritt aussi fait parole qui projet géothermique qui recevait haute attention sur le budget 2013-2014. Finalement, division forêt Kenya a collaboré et puis autorité française à de manière arrêté exportation illégale bagay wildlife for Dominique.
Pour nous collaborer et puis c'est Français, nous ne pouvons pas aller en France parce que c'est France qui contrôle la douane matin, Guadeloupe, c'est matin, c'est place ça. So Massado à présent nous collaboration. Massado ça, mais certains si nous demandent nous qui taper, mais bagay là c'est français yo ça collaborer et puis nous mais yo sous place yo c'est l'air Quibiche là et Manico quoi bla river en Guadeloupe Martinique ce matin yo ja tout mort même si yo pont yo même si yo bas ce monde la prison travail là nous ne pouvons faire en Dominique pour faire c'est quoi bla pas mort faire cette yo fait pitié pour lever pitié yo il ça qui croisé déjà il ça déjà croisé. So, c'est nous en Dominique qui nous fait cette qui ça nous a fait contre ces bêtes sauvages là. Ça nous a fait aller dans une manière où là yo que protège toujours nous que toujours manikou toujours ni gouti toujours ni quoi toujours ni zozio toujours ni cuibiche toujours milé c'est bagarre comme ça.
Messieurs mesdames, ça c'est tout pour nouvelle en créole pour à présent. Non moins c'est McPherson Luce. Au revoir.
Stay with us for a tip on saving money.
Scary. Everything just shaking and shaking and making big creaky noises.
Earthquakes, big and small, take place in the Caribbean at least 10 times a year.
The dishes rattling and falling and breaking. Then Vonnie started to scream.
All I could think to do was shout, "Get outside, get out!"
Earthquakes, hazards, take control, reduce your loss. If an earthquake hits, what can you do? Get down. Get under an item of furniture like a table. Hold on and stay there until the quake passes. Find out lots more about earthquakes and other hazards at your local disaster office. A message from your National Disaster Office and Sidera.
To help boost your savings, start by eliminating your debt. Simply calculating how much you spend each month on your debts will illustrate that eliminating debt is the fastest way to free up money. Once the money is freed from debt payments, it can easily be repurposed to savings. Plus, the sooner you pay off your debt, the less interest you'll pay, and that money can be saved as well. And that's all for this edition of National Focus. We always welcome your suggestions and your comments. Please drop us an email at gis@dominica.gov.dm or visit our website news.gov.dm. Friend us on our Facebook page and be sure to like our GIS Dominica fan page. You can also catch up on past National Focus newscasts on our GIS Dominica YouTube channel. On behalf of the entire news production team, I'm Jarna Hector. Thank you for watching.